Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Leah Smalley. I'm the Assistant Director of Financial Aid Services at the Coordinating Board. And thank you so much for joining us today. We actually have two co-presenters on with me, which is exciting. As I've mentioned this whole year, I am inviting other people to participate on the monthly webcast. Not only so I can get my team on and starting to do more presentations, but because we have other areas within the agency that have information that may be useful to you. So again, I do have two folks on the call with me today. So I'm going to kick it off and then I'm going to turn it over to them and then I'll give you a little bit of information at the end. So we are going to get started. So give me just a second to move this slide forward. All right, so our topics of discussion today, we are going to start out by talking about the Texas Works program, which I'll just briefly run through in a moment. And then we're going to move on to program resource updates. We're going to have another presenter on that topic. Once we go through the program resource updates, I'll be discussing the college access loan interest rate and the details associated with that. Then we'll move on to contract agreement transition. And you might be wondering what that means, so I'll give you more information on that. Lastly, we're going to be talking about the reminders and training that are upcoming and what to expect. I also included some deadline reminders that are coming up. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Andrew Harper. Andrew is with the College Readiness and Success area. He's going to be talking about the Texas Works Internship Program, which is an extension or a portion of the Texas College Work Study program. If you're familiar with Texas College Work Study, that allocation or appropriation covers three different programs. It covers Texas College Work Study, the Work Study Student Mentorship Program, and now Texas Works. So I'm going to turn it over to Andrew, and he's going to tell you about this new program. Andrew?
Thank you, Leah. Before I begin, I just want to make sure everyone can hear me. Can one of the webcast participants just type in the chat box on the side and confirm that they can hear me? Excellent. Thank you very much.
Andrew, I'm sorry to interrupt. I accidentally took control on accident, so you'll need to re-request that. Sorry about that.
Well, again, thank you, Leah. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with everyone today and give some exciting updates on the Texas Works Internship Program. And as Leah had mentioned, I work in the College Readiness and Success Division, specifically with college success programs with Vanessa Malo, including the Work Study Mentorship Program. And as many of you are affiliated with the Work Study Mentorship Program, we wanted to really do an invite to all of you to really encourage you to tell your students about the Texas Works program, encourage them to take a look at it. This is a great next step for those students as well as any college student who meets the eligibility requirements. And so the Texas Works Internship Program is administered by the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board with employers in Texas, and it's an opportunity for students to complete an internship, whether that's in person, virtually, or a combination of both. Very aware that we're still in a very influx in terms of what's happening with the pandemic. It's an opportunity for students to gain and strengthen their career readiness through paid, meaningful work experience. And so we're really focusing on those core competencies that students need to successfully transition in the workplace and then succeed once they get there. All students who are selected for a Texas Works internship will work a minimum of 8 weeks and a minimum of 96 hours and will earn at least $20 per hour. Employers who are selected and participate are welcome to offer internships that are longer in length, more hours, and can pay more than the minimum wage. And of course, as we all know, internships are a great way for students to consider different career paths, learn about careers, and learn how to make that transition and how to advocate for themselves as they move into the next step of their career. So your natural next question is likely, who is eligible to participate in Texas Works? And those students that are eligible to participate are those that have completed a FAFSA application and have an estimated family contribution between $0 and $5,846. What's important to note is that funds received by students employed through Texas Works as eligible wages are not considered financial aid for the academic year in which the funds are earned. In terms of participation, Texas Works students, students who apply for Texas Works can only complete one Texas Works internship per semester, and no more than 2 Texas Works internships over the course of their undergraduate college career. Students have to be enrolled at least half-time, 6 hours or more, in the semester prior to when the internship they would complete would be occurring. If they're applying for an internship in the fall semester, they would have to. They have the option of either of that semester being the being the summer semester or the spring semester. Students need to be seeking a certificate, associate's, or bachelor's degree at an eligible college or university in Texas. They cannot have earned a bachelor's degree to be eligible, and they cannot have earned a graduate or professional degree or be enrolled in one of those programs. They do have to have graduated from high school, earned a GED, or completed a high school equivalency program. Dual credit students are not eligible. And of course, students do need to be a resident of Texas. I am aware the slides are not advancing, and I'm doing my best to try to see if I can make that happen, but we'll continue to move forward. This week, students can actually go and begin the process of seeing if they are eligible to participate. And the first step that students will take is they will visit highered.texas.gov/TexasWorks. And that they will get on that web page, and what they will see is there's an eligibility form for them to complete. They will complete that within 3 to 5 business days. They will receive an email letting them know if they are eligible to move forward and apply for Texas Works internships. If they are eligible, they will receive a student eligibility participation letter. They will then proceed to the Texas Internship Challenge site, and it's on that particular site is where employers starting next week will begin posting internships for the fall semester. Students can visit our website, which they can download a guide to learn more about the program and about eligibility. They also can download a guide which will help them navigate applying for those internships on the Texas Internship Challenge .com site. And the things that students can do now to prepare is obtain and download a digital copy of their transcript. It can be an unofficial copy, and this is an opportunity. This will be something that they will present to the employers for the prior enrollment requirement. And they also can go ahead and start registering for the Texas Internship Challenge site.
So since the slides are not working, I'm just going to interject. As with everything in a virtual environment, we're having some technical difficulties, but because this is recorded and we do upload a copy of the PDF, all of the information that Andrew's providing right now will be available. So again, we apologize that it's not showing on the screen. Hopefully you were able to kind of hear some of the information that he provided, but we will be uploading that onto our website so that you can get that. And then of course, his contact information. So we are definitely trying our best to fix this little quirk that's going on, and then we will keep moving. So give us just a second.
I'll just make a few more comments while we continue to work with the technology. The employer application submission period is currently open. So if you do know of employers who might be interested in participating and would like to start participating and implementing internships with Texas Works starting in the spring semester, the application period is open now through July 30th. I also have Another announcement for those that are part of a work study mentorship team, you'll be receiving an email later this week. As I said before, I work with Vanessa Malo, and you'll be receiving an email later this week, which will be asking you to send a survey to your work study mentorship students and asking them to fill a survey about the coordinating board and brand awareness. So please be on the lookout for that. And finally, if you do have any questions about the Texas Works program, if you'd like to meet with Vanessa or I or both of us more in depth about the program, please send us an email. If you'd like us to present a particular group of students or employers or your staff, we'd be more than happy to do so. And hopefully we'll get to the slide which has our email address, which is texasworks@highered.texas.gov. And as Leah has mentioned, these slides will be made available after the presentation. So again, apologies that the slides didn't quite advance in sync with my comments, but again, very grateful to share this new program and really excited to see it off the ground, and hopefully many of the students you work with will be applying soon. Thank you. Now, move on to program updates.
Hello, and thank you so much, Andrew. My name is Troy Lane Johnson. I am a program specialist here in Financial Aid Services. And if I could have a couple of you just type yes in the chat box if you can hear me before I move forward. And Leah, if you could just let me know I'm unable to see.
Yep, I can hear you. Thanks.
Good deal. Apologies for that glitch. I'm trying to see if it's going to work okay for me, so I'm going to give it a whirl. It seems to be working, so let's go. I'm just going to give you guys I'm trying to stop saying guys, but I'm going to give you some updates on the Educational Aid Exemption Program. For those of you who may not know, the Educational Aid Exemption Program, the purpose behind it is to encourage educational aides to complete a full teacher certification by providing need-based exemptions. So some of the resources that we released just this morning, as a matter of fact, to directors at all participating institutions. One is the 2021-22 Educational Aid Exemption Application, the frequently asked questions, and a list of participating institutions. These documents have been made available on the College for All Texans website, which is our public-facing site that students take advantage of, and of course many others. And they are also available on our Student Financial Aid Programs webpage for the institutions. Now, the participating institutions list, we try and keep this updated every year after final allocations go out, so that the students will know which particular institutions are participating in the program. And final allocations did go out to those participating on July 7th. So you should all have those already. If not, just let us know. A few reminders with the application is that students have to submit a separate application for each term or semester that they are seeking this exemption for. And the reason being is that because institutions have to verify student employment for every term, students are required to be enrolled throughout a full term or the full term for which they are seeking this exemption. Now, the guidelines that we produce every year for each state aid program, for educational aid, that one is available on our SFAP webpage to help administer this program and offer additional guidance and information for you all. Another piece or component that goes along with this program is the critical shortage areas. Every year, TEA submits a list of teacher shortage areas by subject matter to the U.S. Department of Education. Now, the way this connects with educational aid is that for a student to be considered eligible for this program, in addition to, of course, meeting all the other qualifications, is they must be enrolled in courses that are leading to a teacher certification in one or more of these shortage areas. So we update these each year. Once TEA submits that list and releases it, we update and we include these on the application, in program guidelines, on our websites. So we try to make it as visible as possible for you and the student. Funding for educational aid can be requested by completing a fillable PDF form. We usually refer to it as our FRF, or funds request. It's available on the SFAP page. But I wanted to just make mention that you can start submitting this form to us beginning August 2nd. However, we won't start processing any requests until after the first day of September, which is our fiscal year, or when our fiscal year begins. Now, but you can start requesting through and request throughout August 1st of next year. So August 1st of 2022. The years are going so quickly. Can y'all believe it? And a reminder for EAE is that institutions are required to match a student's award by a minimum of 10% using institutional funds. And EAE awards cover all tuition and required fees for formula-funded courses. If you don't know or may not know what formula-funded means, formula-funded courses are those that do not depend solely on student tuition and fees to cover their costs. If you are unsure, or if a student inquires and unsure, we typically refer them to the registrar's or admissions and records office to find out which courses may or may not be covered. Lab fees and other class fees, miscellaneous fees are not covered with this program. For the EAE matching requirement, it can get a little confusing. So in the program guidelines, we included some examples. So I just wanted to go through it with you just really quickly. Just as an example, we're going to look at institution A, because I've already mentioned that you're required to cover a minimum of 10% or a match at least by 10%. Here, institution A, for example, the student total tuition and fees are $5,000. Institution A is going to match at 10%. So 10% of that $5,000 is $500. So the EAE award amount is $4,500. So as you can see, the school is giving $500, so that decreases the EAE award by that $5,000, so it's not on top of $5,000. So that can sometimes be the confusion. Am I giving 10% on top of? No, you're giving 10%. It's included in. So let's jump to institution C. 5,000, they're giving 30%. And you can match beyond 10%. That's totally up to you. And see how their institutional funds is $1,500, so their EAE award amount goes down to $35. So with institution C, that's totally by their choice, but they can possibly stretch their EAE funds a little bit further across their student population. So that's just an example. And like I said, the minimum, of course, we see is 10, but that's up to you if you want to stretch it. So we're going to also cover some of the bilingual resources that went out this morning. For those of you that may not know about the bilingual education program, and I'm sorry, I just kind of jumped into bilingual, that wrapped up educational aid exemption. Sometimes I get ahead of myself. I talk faster than my brain works. But Now we're going to go into bilingual education. This program is on a smaller scale, so some of you may not know or may not have heard of it, but the way the rider is written is this program is right now written to 7 schools. Only 7 schools are participating currently, and that's just the way it's written now. So we released the program guidelines for the program. We also released the biennium, the rider, the verbiage that's in that rider. So we actually published it on our webpage. And the funds request form for the upcoming year. And it's similar to EAE. You can request the funds throughout the year. It's a fillable PDF and very similar, but like I said, it's for those who may not know, the program, it aims to encourage students to enroll in educator preparation programs to teach bilingual education, English as a second language, or Spanish in school district with high critical needs. So this program is, it's been around for a while. Like I said, it's on a smaller scale, but these resources were just released as of this morning to all directors. The tuition equalization grant, we're going to move on to this one. Just a few updates, very minor updates. We had released the program guidelines previously, but we did go in and make updates to the tuition differential section. We went ahead and we added the cost of, we added the undergraduate tuition rate and the graduate tuition rate for the semester credit hours for each SACS level, so that you can now calculate your tuition differential. When we first published, we didn't have the information or data. It wasn't quite ready yet that we needed, so we could publish it. We also added the public institution rate for law school students, so that's there now. And we updated the tuition differential calculation examples so that we could provide you with some of those to help out in doing those calculations. Just like the example here that we provided to just kind of help you work through the calculation. So tuition differential, for some of you that may not know or may not be at a public school, private school. Tuition differential is when you take the difference between the tuition paid at a private or independent institution and compare it to one that would be paid at a public institution that has the comparable or that equates to just about the same that at that private. So the example calculation is here, though that's published now on our website, and it's there for you to utilize. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Miss Leah so she can take over for the college access loan. And she will go ahead and wrap us up.
Thank you, Troyling. I'm doing my best here to navigate on Skype. It is like we've all experienced, it's being a little temperamental today. So
yeah.
Troyling's going to give me the magical powers so I can talk to y'all. Thank you, everybody, for being patient. Looks like maybe I already have control of this, Troyling.
I think you do. Go ahead and try it, Leah,
okay.
And see.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so thank you both for presenting today. Hopefully y'all got some good information, and like I said, because of the technical difficulties, if you missed something, we can always circle back and send you information, or you can get that once we post it online. And I'll give you more information at the end of this webcast on how you do that. So the topics that I'm going to be talking about today, the first one is college access loan. We did on June 23rd, so last month, we sent out a notice letting people know that the Cal interest rate actually was reduced. So every year they do an evaluation, they look at the bond market, they do a lot of evaluation, and this year it went down, which is great news. So effective July 1st, Any loan that is certified by the institution will carry a fixed interest rate of 3.75. The previous interest rate was 4.2. So even though that's a small amount, if you ever borrow a loan, you know every percentage point counts. So that's pretty big drop actually. So another thing to keep in mind is that when that happened, we went ahead and notified students that had a loan with us that had not dispersed at all. So that means that they're certified by the school, but they're just sitting there pending disbursement. So those students were notified to let them know of the interest rate change. They do have the ability to cancel their loan with the coordinating board to reapply. And again, that is to take advantage of the lower rate so that in the long run they save money. So you may notice over time that you certified someone and now all of a sudden you're getting a new certification request. You are going to see that probably for the next few months as we get more requests. So we are allowing students to do that. When they submit the request to us in writing, we're going in, we're canceling their loan, and then notifying the borrower that they can reapply. Now that only counts for loans that are sitting there pending disbursement. If any portion of their loan has already gone out and it was before that July date, then it is locked into the 4.2%. Now, if you get a student who comes in and says, hey, I really want to take advantage of this, but I don't know how, or can you help me out? We are allowing institutions to submit those cancellation requests to us, so you can send in writing that the student requested that from you, and we can process those. Now, we do prefer that the student does it just for audit purposes and compliance purposes, but it is still allowable for you to do that on behalf of your student. Just make sure, again, you document it on your end before you send it through. Now, one thing to be aware of, and we did notify students of this, is that if they choose to cancel their loan, their credit will not be pulled if it's within the 90-day window of when they originally applied. Now, some students applied a long time ago, and so their 90-day period has passed. If that occurs and they reapply, we're going to re-pull their credit. And if you've ever applied for a loan, sometimes your credit changes from month to month. So we just want to make sure that they're aware of the risk of doing that. And if for any reason they do get denied on the second round, they can reach out to us to see what their options are. Okay, so we do want people to take advantage of this reduction, but obviously we want to be very transparent and make sure that they know what they're getting into in the event they were not going to be approved again. Like I mentioned before, if you or the student wants to submit a cancellation request, you send that through Contact Us. I'll be going through the steps in a moment at the end of the presentation if you're new or you want a refresher. But you do go to our website, you hit Contact Us, and we'll go through the steps on how to submit that. Lastly, like I said, if you get a student inquiring and their loan was certified before July 1st, it should be carrying the 4.2% interest rate. And if it's already started dispersing, it's going to carry that rate. So if you have questions on either how to make a request, or if you have questions on certification timing and all of that stuff, just reach out to us and we'll be happy to answer that for you. So let's move on to the contract agreement transition. You might be wondering, okay, what does that mean? So earlier today, a notice went out. If my slides will go. Let's see, there's a lag. Okay, so an announcement went out that we are transitioning from the Memorandum of Understanding to something called a Program Participation Agreement. Now, if you deal with federal aid, that's typically what the agreement between you and the Department of Ed is called as well. There's different contracts and whatnot. But the coordinating board is moving from the MOU over to a PPA. This new agreement is only 3 pages long. If you remember or you dealt with the MOU contract, it is 10 plus pages. It's very lengthy. It takes a lot of time and effort to go through it line by line. This one is intended to be simplified, and again, you'll be able to read it when you get a copy of it. Now, we are working on these as we speak. The current MOUs expire at the end of August, so we are getting out these new 3-page agreements here in the next 2 weeks. Each of the directors at the institution will receive a copy via email, and it will also include some instructions on exactly what you need to do. All of these new contracts are e-signed, they're fillable, they're very simplistic, so it should not be a lot of time and effort to complete the form, but you may need time to get with your legal team or however your approval process is on your end. Once that contract or the agreement is filled out and signed, you're going to email it back to Deshay Reed directly, and that gives us enough time to get it in our system and fully execute it, because it has to go through certain signature processes on our end. These 2-year agreements are going to be covered for the biennium. So the prior MOUs were good for 4 years. And if you've worked with state programs for many, many years, some of the contracts were even longer than that at one point. But now we're going to a 2-year cycle. So this agreement will be for FY22 and FY23. It will align with the biennium. And every legislative session will be sending out a new copy of the agreement for the school to sign. So again, somewhat of a big change, but in a more simplified way. So I think it's going to be an easier process. As of right now, the deadline for those agreements to get those back are August 18th. Again, because the other contracts are expiring and we need to get the new contracts in the system, that is a 1-month turnaround roughly. So we are starting to get those contracts or the agreements. I keep calling them contracts because that's what they were always called, but these agreements will be going out, like I said, in the next 2 weeks. So if you have questions when you receive yours, you'll reach out to Deshay and she can field that question for you. All right, so now we're towards the end here. We're going to be talking about some reminders. The final allocations went out. They went out on July the 7th. Troy mentioned that as well when she was talking about Aide, but we sent out allocations for Texas Grant, TEOG, Educational Aid Exemption, Bilingual Education, Texas College Work Study, and Work Study Student Mentorship Program. All of those programs are posted online to our Student Financial Aid Program's website. If you haven't received a copy for any reason, they're available for you there. The only program that has not been released is Tuition Equalization Grant. We're still working on that one, and we hope to have that out very shortly. Can't give you an exact date, but for sure, very, very soon. So if you're a private school and you're wondering where TEG is at, it is still pending. The second reminder is FADS. FADS Cycle 2 is in full effect. It started on June 23rd. We haven't seen a ton of activity yet, but just wanted to put that out there as a reminder. Please start submitting your files, working through your edits and your errors. And the biggest reminder is that there is no reconciliation for Cycle 2. That changed last year, and so that's actually should move your file through more quickly. If you have questions on the reconciliation piece, you're welcome to send them to us, but because it's not required, we don't want people to feel panicked if the numbers don't align exactly. We'll still work with you to try and get those updated so that it's easier on Cycle 3, but it's not required for you to validate. So keep that in mind when you're working through the file. And the last piece here on the reminders is gear interest. We've been receiving a lot of transactions, but we haven't been receiving the actual form that goes along with it. So all of the programs, including gear, there is a form online. Oh, it didn't pop up. Well, there it goes. All right, it was just delayed. The form itself is on our gear dedicated web page. So when you go to SFAP, the very first link talks about gear. And if you go on there, there's a return of funds form, which you can see on your screen. We need that form for compliance purposes and to track the money. So right now we're getting interest payments back to the coordinating board, but we haven't been getting the corresponding form. So if you work with gear funds, make sure you get with your business office and the two offices coordinate so that we can have both pieces. We need the actual funds and then we need the form to go along with it. And like I said, if you weren't aware there is a form, it's online on that web page. The other reminder is that for public universities, there is separate instructions at the bottom of that form that talk about how to code your money using an RTI. And so that's a little bit different than our other forms. So I wanted to make sure that people were aware of that requirement. If you're a community college or a private school, it does not include an RTI. This is only for public universities. Okay. So if you have questions on gear payments, gear returns, gear interest, anything like that, you can reach out to us. We know that it's the first year that we've received that type of funding. There's lots of questions associated with how to handle those transactions, so please reach out and we can help you. It already popped up here, but training, we have our next monthly webcast on August 10th, so feels like that's tomorrow already. It's already midway through July. It's coming up quick, so we will send out the flyer letting you know the topics for next month in the coming weeks. The last thing here, deadlines. One is a reminder that it's the end of the biennium. So that means that if you have not requested your money for grant programs or any of the programs outside of loan funds, that needs to happen by August 1st. And that's because we need sufficient time to get those funds over to you so that they can be encumbered and used by August 31st. We do still have some schools that have money sitting there that hasn't been spent. So this is just a friendly reminder that's only a couple weeks away. And this is the second year within our biennium, which means that those funds don't carry forward. So on the first year of the biennium, you typically have the ability to move money between, but move money forward to your second year if it's a grant program. But this is the second year in that biennium, so that money will lapse if you don't use it. The second reminder is what I just mentioned on the contract is to submit your PPA to the coordinating board by August 18th. Again, we're trying to get those in so that we can process them on our end to get them loaded so that you can request and get your funds for FY22. All right, so let me go to this last page that will let me. So contacting student financial aid programs, I always end the webcast this way, especially for those that may be newer to state financial aid programs and don't know ways to get in contact with us. We have two phone lines that are dedicated for student borrowers and the public. The first one is our borrower services number, and we have our Texas Financial Aid Information Center number. So each one of those is dedicated for a different type of customer. The students at your school can call the 800 number that you see on the screen. And then the financial aid information centers, usually for high school students, people who are returning to school, the general public, families, that kind of thing. But plenty of times you're going to get questions from students, maybe that you don't know how to answer. You can direct them through that line, and that's, again, a general financial aid line. And then how do you get in touch with financial aid services? Financial aid services has two options. One, you can call our direct phone line. Again, we don't have any menus or anything like that. You'll get to talk to somebody when you call through. And we are open Monday through Friday. I think it's cut off on the screen a little bit, but we're open 8 to 5. We're closed from 12 to 1 daily, but you can call us and we will try and get you an answer over the phone. If we can't assist you over the phone, or if you don't have time to give us a call, the other option is you can use our Contact Us link online. Its Contact Us link is available on every single one of our web pages and our website. So when you click on the link, you can submit us an inquiry. Now, a few minutes ago, I told you that we would go through that process. So I'm going to go through that now. Again, if you're a pro, then this is going to be a refresher. If you've never seen it before, then you're going to get the steps right now. So when you go to our webpage, it's loading on the screen, a form is going to pop up. And this form does need to be filled out a certain way for it to get routed to us appropriately. Otherwise, because it's a system that goes based on your inputs, it may get routed to the wrong area of the agency, and it'll take a few days to get over to our area. So the first thing to know is when you fill out the form, make sure that you click on institution. That's how it knows to come to financial aid services. You'll also want to fill out which school you're contacting us from, because we have different folks in our area that work on different institution types. The next part is you'll want to designate that it's a financial aid question. If you put anything else in there, even if it makes sense logically, it won't come to our area right away. It's going to have to be filtered through a different area. So make sure, even if it's related to a student loan question, if it's your FADS report, anything like that that needs to come to financial aid services, that's the contact reason you need to use. The next item is your description. Sometimes we get very vague inquiries. it's difficult to research or provide feedback if it doesn't have a lot of details. So just make sure it doesn't have to be long, but it needs to kind of specify what you're inquiring about, and also make sure when you're sending it through that you send your direct contact number. So even we'll get very detailed inquiries, but it requires that we call the institution just to talk it out. So putting your direct line in there is very helpful so that we can get in touch with you faster. Putting your kind of main line where we have to go through either a receptionist or a call tree usually is not, we don't get through very easily. So just asking for your help on that piece of it. Once you fill out all your information on here, you'll click submit. If you do it the way that I just went through, it's going to come through instantaneously, and we'll work those as quickly as we can. We do know that there has been a lag on some of the inquiries, and that is because, again, it's kind of a peak season right now. In the summertime, we have a ton of things that come through because students are ramping up for the fall term. So we just ask, please give us grace. Be patient, and we are working through them as quickly as possible. We also have a very large volume of those cancellations that I told you about because of the interest rate change, and that does come through our area. So again, we just have a very large volume right now. Again, call us if you're thinking that maybe you can get your answer over the phone. That's also a really great way to get your questions answered. So now that I'm talking about questions, I got to the very end here. I wanted to thank both Andrew and Troyling for co-presenting with me. They gave some really great information, which we'll post online. It usually takes about a week for us to get the video and the PowerPoint onto our website. So if you're wondering how long that takes, wait about a week and then check on our Stay Connected page under the Webcast archives. They'll be posted there along with the last 3 years worth of webcasts. You can go back at any point and look to see what we've presented on and kind of listen to some of those presentations if you'd like to do that. But I'm going to stop there and check back since we don't have a lot of people fielding questions today. I'm just going to scroll through to see if we have any that I can answer here. And if you have any questions regarding any of these topics, feel free to go ahead and type that in right now because we're about to wrap up. And let's see. So I have a question from Aurora, and it says, it's asking about the bilingual education test. To answer your question, the student must successfully pass the State Board of Educator Certification Bilingual Target Proficiency Test. That's a whole mouthful, but the way it's written in the writer will specify exactly what they have to pass. So you'll want to take a look at that and make sure that that's the test that you're referring to, Aurora. Okay, Eileen is asking, are you able to confirm again when Cal will be released to schools for the upcoming school year? So all of the Cal funds, Eileen, are based on loan period. And so if this is for the upcoming fall term, we typically don't wait till September 1st to release Cal funds. So it's based on whenever you put that loan period date in there. They're not the same as the other programs that require that we wait till September 1st. Hopefully that answered your question. Mary, it says, are the additional funds allocated for Texas grant required to be tracked separately like the GEAR funds, or are they just included in the total allocation? And I'm assuming, Mary, that you're talking about the strategy money that was included in the final allocations. Those are not tracked separately. They were just included in your final allocations as extra money. So it was money that we got that we were able to add to the pool, if that makes sense. But we just divvied it out so that you could see the delineation between the original appropriation from the legislature versus the extra money that we got. And let's see, Bridget, will the additional GEAR funds that were just announced be available to private schools also? I have not been included in those conversations, Bridget, unfortunately, so I'll have to get back with you on that one because I don't have the answer to that. Okay, nobody else? That means that all of us did so much information that you didn't even have any question, which is great. Yesenia is asking, how soon will the PowerPoint be available on the web? I joined late. So the PowerPoint and the webcast will be uploaded within the week. It's usually about 7 to 8 days. So you'll check back on the Stay Connected page under the webcast link. That's where we post it. I think that is about it. Let's see. Anyone else? We actually have some extra time today. I know y'all want to hang out, but I also don't want to steal your time. I know that there's a lot happening right now. More information every month to come on lots of fun topics. If you have any topics that you want us to present on or that you have questions on, I don't have it on this particular webcast, but we do have a survey, and you can also send it through Contact Us. So that's probably the best way at this point, is you can send it through just saying, I have a webcast topic and I would like to learn about this particular item. And we can either set that up as a topic on here on the monthly webcast, and then we also set up one-on-one training with institutions if it's specific to your school. All right, well, I don't have anything else. Again, thank you everyone for joining us, and we hope you have a great week. Thank you again, Andrew. Thank you, Troiling. Y'all did a wonderful job. And thank you all for joining. We'll see you next month. Have a good one.